Greetings and salutations to you all once again. It is me, the Ravenous Spectre, and this is finally my honorable mentions video. Previously, I did my Games of the Year video, and now this is the honorable mentions. This may be something that I'll probably do year after year due to the fact that if there's a whole lot of really good games that come out and I can't really decide on where I want them to be in my Games of the Year list, I'll go ahead and make an honorable mentions list. So, I got a nice little stack right here, so we'll go ahead and start with the first one here, and that is Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Now, why am I holding up two of these? Because of the fact that this one is the standard edition that I ended up getting before I ended up getting the special edition. And the reason for that is because the special edition, I don't know if it was sold out or something was up with Best Buy's website, but I couldn't get access to it to buy it until the very first day that this came out, which was the standard edition. So I'm actually going to be selling the standard edition to a friend of mine for the same amount that I bought it for, which was $30. I just figured I would show the original one there before I send it off to him. And this is the collector's edition, or the special editions as they refer to it as. And the reason that I didn't include this in my Games of the Year list is because of the fact that this game, it came out so late and, in early December, that I really haven't had enough time for me to be able to put much time into it. Well, technically, I put I think almost 30 hours into it, but that whole time isn't my play time. It's kind of like in those old school JRPGs, the time of the game constantly keeps ticking. Yeah, well, that hasn't been the case for me. I've actually paused the game, if you will, while the timer was still going. So I'm pretty sure I have not put that much play time into this game. But regardless, though, everything about it is cool. I love the music, the gameplay, the characters. It's just really colorful, all of that. I love how I can go portable with it or how I can just play it on my TV. But if this game had came out earlier in the year, it probably would have been on my Games of the Year list. Like, say if it came out, maybe the middle of this year, maybe much earlier in the year, maybe the start of next year, or not start of next year, what am I saying? The Switch didn't even come out at the beginning of this year. I meant at the time of the Switch being released is what I mean. At the time of it being released, if it was one of those launch titles, if you will, then yeah, it probably would have been on my Games of the Year list. But it's definitely an awesome game without a shadow of a doubt. But it just didn't hit my Games of the Year list. The next one here is Persona 5. Now, this is a large game. It's a big game. There's a lot of dialogue to it. There's a lot of story to it, gameplay, all of that. I really do love the art style. I really do love how stylish it is and how unique it is, especially in the battle menus. I think it's definitely something that's really unique to the JRPG genre, and I need to get back to playing it again. I truly do. From other friends of mine that have played it and already beaten it, I've technically only really scratched the surface with this one. I don't know what it was that came in my way to cause me to just kind of rear back from it from playing it too much. But everything that I played from it is really awesome. If I would have put more time into it this year, or maybe even would have beaten it, it probably would have hit my Games of the Year list for sure. Because I was kind of tinkering back and forth with a few of these, because I'm like, I know I haven't put too much time into it. I know I haven't completed these yet, but should they make my Games of the Year list? That kind of thing. But even then, I think in the past few years, there's been some games that I haven't even finished completely, and I still put them on my Games of the Year list, which that's the way it would have been probably with Xenoblade Chronicles 2, knowing how massive it is. But definitely definitely a game that you guys should look into if you're into JRPGs. The next one we have here, I might as well go ahead and show both of these since they're in the same series. That is Yakuza 0 and Yakuza Kiwami. Now, I haven't even bothered to even start playing Kiwami just yet, and it is a remaster of the first game that had came out back on the the PS2, I believe. It's a remake of the very first one that came out, utilizing all the technology and everything from Yakuza 0. So while I haven't even had a chance to really play this just yet, I'm definitely interested to seeing what it's all about. Because a lot of people have praised it for the story, for the characters, for the gameplay, and all of that, just as well as they have with Yakuza 0. And Yakuza 0 obviously takes place before the first one, so I really wanted to finish this one before I went to Kiwami so I could really have a better grasp of understanding of the characters and the story and, overall what's going to be going on. I put quite a bit of much time in this. I haven't beaten it just yet. I'm really trying to go through and try to do as many side quests as I can along with the main story. But it's definitely one to check out if you're into action beat 'em up RPGs kind of deal. Some of my friends thought it was like an open world GTA kind of thing, but it's not anything like that. It's more like a hub world, if you will, a hub open world. It's not anything that's huge or massive or anything like that. But definitely looking back to getting back to that at some point. The next one I have here is Battle Chasers Night War. Now, I have always, obviously this is another RPG, it's a JRPG. I've always been into the comic series back in like the late 90s when it first came out, and I loved them to death, and the comics just died out, which really sucked. Joe Madureira, the creator of them, he just, I don't know, something happened where he just ended up giving up on them, and he got into video games and whatnot, which is cool, which is one reason why some of his artwork is in Darksiders 1 and Darksiders 2, and here it is in this one, you know, because it's actually based off of his comic series. But it's in my runners-up because I haven't really put too much time into it like I've wanted to because of other games that have been coming out. It's really stylish, it's fun, it's cool, but in a way it's still a little slow for me, and I guess I really kind of have to be in like that gradual, you know, progression type of mood when it comes to games like this. But another thing is, and it's sad to say, but I have had problems with this. This game has already crashed on me 3 times since I've ended up having it. I have heard that the patches and everything that they put out for it was supposed to fix it. Well, apparently it didn't, so because I'm still having these problems. But recently I actually ended up going and rebuilding my database for my PS4, thinking that might help, thinking that maybe the patches they already released have probably already fixed the game itself. It may have just been maybe my system that had been doing that. So I'm going to see if that's really the system's fault or if it's still the game's fault. You know, but besides that, people have already talked about how there had already been some crashes that have happened for other people that have been playing it on their systems. So maybe they've patched that already. I don't really know. I have to get back to playing it again to see what's what. But for my all-time favorite comic series, which sucks that it died, and apparently there was one final issue that was released for this comic series that was really supposed to just seal the deal with everything that had happened in the previous issues and leading into this game itself. So, you know, it would be great to see Battle Chasers come back again. I would love that to death. It would finally be a comic series that I would actually want to invest some time in because I've never really been like a huge comic fan. I tried to do it earlier in the year, or actually like last year, some for myself to see if there was some that I can get into. But you know, it really has to grab me with the artwork and the story. And I'm more of like a medieval fantasy kind of guy when it comes to comics, you know, and things like that. So, you know, anyways, but the fact is, definitely going to be getting back to giving that a chance at some point. The next one here is Tales of Berseria. Now, I've always been a fan of the Tales of series, and this one, good Lord, it just seems like it goes on forever and ever and ever. And to me, I kind of feel like they really need to take basically a back step, just like Ubisoft did with Assassin's Creed, for them to really make a really good Tales game. Because, I mean, the Tales games are good, but it seems like it's kind of really following some of the same formulas, and it's kind of getting burnt out and old for me. You know, I mean, this is a fun game. They have introduced some unique things in it, but the thing is just, I'm just like, you guys really just need to take a couple years off to really, you know, get your creative juices flowing and come up with something that is something that's just completely different, that isn't anything like the Tales of series has ever seen before. And we've seen a lot with that with the Tales of series. You had Tales of Berseria, then you had Tales of Zestiria, and then you had Tales of, what was it, damn, I can't even remember the name of it, but it was basically 2 games in one, pretty much. One was released one year, and the other one was released like 1 or 2 years afterwards. It came out on PS3. I forgot what it was. I'm pretty sure some people let me know in the comments. But yeah, man, it just seemed like they were constantly pumping these things out, and I'm just like, please, just stop. You know, I don't want to constantly be buying these games, and then it just seems like it's kind of the same thing over and over. But regardless, I had been putting a lot of time into this and was playing it and really loved the colors because there was a lot of colors that was in it. Really colorful. The battle system was really cool. Everything that you could probably expect of in a Tales of series, it was in there. And the story seemed like it was pretty interesting too. It kind of confused me a little bit, but I guess that was probably one reason for me putting it on the shelf for a while and then going back again and be like, I don't really remember this. What happened again? You know, but, you know, that's kind of the bane when it comes to dealing with JRPGs or just really long games in general. If you end up playing a game for a certain period of time and then put it away for a bit and go back to it again, you're pretty much dumb as shit when it comes to trying to figure out exactly what happened previously. You know, you might get some faint recollections in your mind, but overall it's just like, well, I don't remember that, so... But anyways, yeah, I think I might be near the end of this game. I'm not sure. It just kind of seems like the way that the story is going, it kind of seems like that may be the case. The next one that we have here Man, I got a lot of like RPGs that I'm talking about here. The next one that we have here is .hack GU Last Recode. Now, this is a remaster of the first 3 games, not the first 3 games, but the last 3 games, at least from the way it was over here in the West, dealing with the .hack series. And I have always been a fan of this series to a certain point. I never played all of the first 4 games that came out. I beat the first one, I think, and maybe the second one, but I never got the third one or the fourth one, and then as time wore on, they just got expensive as shit, and I didn't even bother with them. I still don't have the fourth one from the first series that came out, and I haven't even bothered to go to the third one yet. So I'm hoping they actually do a remaster of that first series that came out, which would be amazing if it finally ended up coming over to PS4. But they ended up doing it with this one because they said that they believed that the story was much more compelling. And on top of that, they've also entered in a cheat mode that you could utilize. They also had put in an extra episode, which I don't know what that consists of. And then they have like a parody mode, which I think is like you playing through the game just as it is, but there's like a bunch of really weird and crazy dialogue that's going on amongst the characters. It really doesn't make too much sense except for it to be in there for comedic value. But the fact is it's a really interesting action RPG, but at the same time, it kind of seemed like it was just a little bit repetitive and a little bit slow for me. The story was interesting, and the characters are as well, but I'm actually still on the first game in the series. I think I might be close to finishing the first game in the series, but then I got the second and third one and the bonus episode that they've ended up adding in. So yeah, hopefully at some point I'll end up getting back into this again. But if you guys had really been looking to get into the series, go ahead and get this on PS4 because you're basically getting all 3 games with the extra content for the exact same price as it would be to just buy one of these on the PS2, and that's freaking ridiculous. So obviously this is a better deal. You know, go ahead and get this, and don't worry about buying those PS2 copies because you're just ripping yourself off. All right, the next one here we have is Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen. Now, I told myself that I really didn't think that I was going to bother trying to put any remasters or anything in here, because obviously I did that with GU, and I think that's the only one. Yeah, that's it. But the thing is that when I first played this on PS3, I got to a certain point where I couldn't progress anymore, and it kind of aggravated me, and I'm just like, well, hell, I just won't even bother. I don't know if it was a glitch in the game or what it was, but I didn't even bother going back into it again. But I think I was actually near the end of the game. And then when it came out on PS4 with the extra stuff that was added in and all the extra bugs and fixes and everything that was done with it, I told myself, okay, I really need to dive back into this again. And this one wasn't even full price either. They didn't sell it at full price. I think they sold it at maybe, I think it was like 40 or something like that. Exact same thing with .hack GU, I believe. I think they sold it at like 40 or 50, something like that. But with my GCU membership with Best Buy, I ended up getting a discount on both of these. But the fact is that it's a really interesting open world action RPG, which I really hope we get a sequel from. I've already heard about them doing like an online MMO for this. So yeah, I really would just like a flat out sequel. It'd be cool to have the MMO because I have friends of mine that are big Dragon's Dogma fans. That would be cool to be able to play with them online. But honestly, I just really want a fully fledged sequel that has like multiplayer that you can utilize, but you can just play it on your own too if you want to. But yeah, I'm looking back to going back into this again so that I can finally go and do everything that I've wanted to do. Because when I played it the first time, I just went through doing the story, did a few side quests, stuff like that. Didn't really go in and explore everywhere that I wanted to. So I definitely want to do that with this edition, if you will. And the final one that we have here is Agents of Mayhem! Yeah, yeah! Whatever. Excuse me. That's exactly the way that it is when it ends up starting out with this game. It's basically like an adult version of G.I. Joe, if you will. Very interesting game, really colorful, over the top. The action is great. The characters are really cool, especially when you're just running around this open world. And that's one thing about the open world is really isn't too many activities that you can really take part in. And if you see that, yeah, I kind of defecated. Oh my God, completely wrong word. I kind of defaced, I guess you could say. Defecated. I guess I kind of started out the same. Yeah, I shit on it. But no, I defaced it because of the fact that I'm getting so sick and tired of that freaking day one bullshit that is on the cases. I've already made a video about this before, about put it on a plastic wrapping or a little sticker you can easily pull off, or piece of paper, or hell, something that isn't actually imprinted into the case itself. Because the day one thing is only going to be a day one thing. When this game is like freaking years and years old, I don't want to go back and look at my case and realize, oh yeah, that was a day one thing when it first came out. No, I want a completely just original artwork on here. I know it's a day one thing. I was buying it on day one. I don't have to be told that. You know, and so I said, the hell with this. I don't want to see it. I took a magic marker and I marked it out. I don't know how freaking hard it is to put a plastic wrapping on there with a sticker saying, oh, this is the day one edition. Great, okay. And then I could throw the son of a bitch in the trash and never see it again. You know, I know I went on a little bit of a rant there, but I hate it. It looks tacky. It is. It's tacky and I freaking hate it. You know, it's just like, for example, what had happened, what was it, with one of the Batman games? I think it was, I don't know if it was Arkham City or Arkham Asylum or something, like the Game of the Year edition or something like that. I believe it was. It had so much text on there, it was just like, you might as well just shit on the case and not even worry about putting it out, because that's what it looked like. There was text on there from like a different other magazine publications or gaming websites or something. I don't want to see that shit. I don't give a crap. I want to see awesome artwork on here. What was it? Just Batman's head or something like that? And his head was surrounded by like a bukkake of nothing but fucking words that I don't care about reading or seeing. You know, for God's sakes, man. Ugh, that's just fucking laziness. I'm sorry. I'm ranting on it, but I really do think it's laziness why they can't just put a plastic wrapping around it saying it's day one. Okay, great. Throw it in the trash. But anyways, besides that little rant, again, that I had done previously, it had, this was a really fun, it really got to the point where some people just couldn't stand it, where it was like, oh, well, you know, it isn't really what people thought it was going to be, and they go in and kind of get into it, and they're like, yeah, there's some really good things about it, but it really wasn't what we expected it to be. You know, that's kind of another thing with gamers nowadays. It just seems like we just have like these short attention spans, and if something really doesn't meet our criteria right then and there, then we're quick to judge it, you know. But honestly, I went into this with an open mind. I really did like it. I finished it. There was some repetitive things about it for sure, but I think the action was the main thing that really held it up for me, that I really, really loved. It's just, there was so many explosions of things that was going on, different characters with different abilities, and their overall personalities. And yeah, there wasn't too much to do in the open world, which kind of sucked, but at the same time, being able to go and just go through the story, I really felt like I was playing like an adult version of G.I. Joe. It really did feel that way. It was crazy. It was great. I hope that something may happen where I doubt it, but I really would love to be able to see there be a sequel to this. And one reason that this didn't make my Game of the Year's list, which I was kind of debating on going back and forth on whether it was going to be in there or going to be in just nothing but the stack that I got right here of honorable mentions, is because of the fact that when I finished it, I wanted to go back again, but I could, because it puts you right back in the open world again after you finish the main story, like kind of like it seems like most open world games do nowadays. But I just couldn't really bring myself to go and do it, because it just seemed like it just seemed empty to me. You know, like I finished the main story, I finished enough of the side missions that I wanted to. Yeah, I could go back and go through different difficulty levels in the open world and try to level up my agents even more. And I might do that at some point later on down the road when I don't really have anything to play. But it didn't really give me incentive to really go back to it. And there was some really interesting story bits in this as well. But ultimately, it ended on a cliffhanger. You know, well, it ended, but it still had one of those things where it's like, oh, we're going to have a sequel. Well, I really don't know if that's going to be the case. I hope maybe there's some way they can redeem themselves with this and put out a sequel, but we'll just have to see. I don't really think it sold that well. But anyways, yeah, that is the whole shindig of my honorable mentions for this year. And I got to go get something to drink because I ran myself ragged, you know, as you could tell through some during the video. But anyways, I will go ahead and I will end this like I always do. Later, taters.